back with a live stream today and wanted to say hi to everybody. Took a day off on Thursday, had a shorter stream yesterday. This will probably be about an hour in length, so I just want to hang out. Anyway, so I'm here, and you guys know the rules: no droids, no bounty hunters, no Raylos, no Ray Nobodies, no Kyle Ron fans, no sequel trilogy fans of any kind. Mandalorian, if you're buzzed for Kenobi or Andor, you're in the right place. Let's talk about Visions. Yes, I saw it. Yes, I thought it was interesting. Okay, let me just see what the Wookiee's doing. And because I want to go through, I've got my computer on because I want to go through a lot of this, the episodes, and talk a little bit about what I saw and what I thought was good and what was bad, and my reaction to it. Because I watched them all but one, and I'll tell you the reason why when I get to that episode, why I didn't watch a certain episode. And it's because it had something to do with something that I find reprehensible and never should be considered again. Not that I believe in banning information and things, but there are things that don't need to be part of the Star Wars lexicon. Okay, so let's get into Disney Plus here. And let's talk about the episodes, because they have a list here and we'll just go through them. I am not going to, let's see, Star Wars, and we got Visions, and let's go into episodes. So, all right, let's go. Episode 1, The Duel. That was a pretty good episode. That was a very interesting episode. But Mazuris, when he was talking about, why do they keep rebooting things? I didn't get to listen to him, but I think he was talking about this. It seems that people really can't get into doing something different. And I do think that this story was better than anything that the sequel trilogy writers and the Solo writer could have ever come up with. It's a good story, but we've kind of seen this before. We get into Tatooine Rhapsody. I thought that was the most original. It is about a rock band that has a certain member that is wanted by Jabba. And it is the bassist who happens to be a young Hutt. I won't give any more spoilers than that, but you get to see Boba Fett. And it's kind of a fun, kind of different thing with no Jedis at all. Or there is one, but he's not. He doesn't really, he doesn't ever use his powers to do this. It's just really kind of a fun story. You have to watch it. The twins. Neither here nor there. The Village Bride, I thought was good. I liked the old Jedi Master and the, I guess he was a Jedi Master, and the young Jedi that kind of saves everything. And I thought it was very interesting. Now, let's go this way. So we get into the Ninth Jedi. Episode 5, I did not see it. The reason is this: it comes after The Rise of Skywalker, and the sequel trilogy and everything leading up to it, and its non-existent aftermath, are not, in my opinion, the Star Wars timeline. Okay, I thought I don't have to watch it. I know it's trash. And from what I've heard, the lightsabers change colors. So we get into 2B1. And 2B1 is a cybernetic boy who wants to be a Jedi. His creator, I think, is a Jedi, a former Jedi. And it's kind of silly. I thought The Elder, episode 7, was okay. I really enjoyed the older Jedi, the Master, because he reminded me a lot of Qui-Gon Jinn. So there was that, and it was kind of a weird thing, but I mean, it was okay. Lop and Ocho. I couldn't stand it. It, I didn't understand what the point was. And then we've got Akakiri. Akakiri was very weird. Okay. But again, all of these except episode 5, The Ninth Jedi, I thought were okay. I mean, they were better than the sequel trilogy. They were better than anything in the High Republic. But again, I'm not an anime fan, even though I thought the art was really great. I'm not a fan of that kind of frenetic everywhere. And some of the stories, I just, Lop and Ocho, Akakiri, I mean, Lop and Ocho, I think really tried to verify the Rey stealing Luke's everything and the Millennium Falcon. That's not how Star Wars works. Okay. Stop trying to change George's vision. Okay, because you're not George Lucas, so stop it. They were just, they're not canon, so there's nothing really to get freaked out about. But they were just, the duel was good. Tatooine Rhapsody was original, which was refreshing. Village Bride was interesting. But most of them were either gag me or meh. So, if you liked them, great. But again, I'm not an anime fan. All right. I've never watched it. I mean, I'm the girl who, if Speed Racer was on TV, I would turn. Hey, Carl M. Well, it's not medieval. It's Japanese. Okay, it's samurai. This is just a second. There, you saw samurai ninja stuff in Japanese storytelling because manga and anime are Japanese. This is the thing I liked about it. I've lived in Korea. I've been to Japan, and I absolutely love the Japanese. I love the Koreans for the simple reason you get a sense of legacy, you get a sense of family. So Lop and Ocho didn't make any sense to me. Okay, that one was like, no, no. They're very interesting people. They're a very interesting culture. They're a lot of fun to their culture's a lot of fun to explore. And with these stories, you see the Japanese really trying to, these artists really trying to put a sense of their own style into Star Wars. And let me explain. Star Wars does have a lot of Far Eastern philosophy in it. The Jedi themselves are based on what I can figure Shaolin monks, which after the great when Mao took over, he really tried his best to close down the monasteries because he wanted his own thing. Okay, but the Jedi are based on Shaolin monks. If you've seen the TV show Kung Fu, you know you have an idea what a Shaolin monk is. And samurai, of course, the lightsabers don't get ignited; they're in a samurai sword sheath. That kind of thing. If you've gone to Japan, you will see a lot of the things that you know. Okay, the the way the mountains are drawn, the way the weather is drawn, is very Japanese because that's the way it is there. Okay, the way the trees look, they're not like ours. They're different. It's Asia. It's they're an archipelago of islands right off the coast of China. That's what you're gonna get. Okay, the pagoda buildings, not you know think of Coruscant. You're not gonna get that in this, and that's just what you're gonna have. Were these successful? I don't know. I watched the interviews with the artists and very interesting people. A few of them I'd love to just hang out with and talk to. You know, there's something about being there and amongst people and getting an idea of something new and different. And this is new and different. That's one of the good things. The bad thing is that we get the same story over and over again. Okay. The village being overrun by a bad Sith Lord or some dark Jedi or whatever, and you've got a wandering Jedi showing up and making things right. And, secretive Jedis, doing all this stuff with experiments or, that's over and over again. Star Wars is a huge universe. The only episode that I thought was original was Tatooine Rhapsody, because this is a young man who could not follow the Jedi path. So he's a rock star, he's a singer. They have a show. And it was more refreshing to see other parts of Star Wars, the underworld, Jabba, that part of Tatooine, instead of constantly, here's a lightsaber, here's a village that needs to be saved, here's the stand-in for Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. That's the part I liked. Okay. And I really think that if you're going to do Star Wars, you need to explore more. Okay. Because the Jedi, you got Luke, you got Anakin. I think that the main first 6 movies really do explore the Jedi, and there are plenty of great EU books and other materials that explore the Jedi. In episode 5, which is the Ninth Jedi, I refuse to watch it. I refuse on grounds I would feel violated, just like I felt violated when I fucking saw TFA. Okay, so there's that. I give it out of a 1, between a 1 and a 10, a 6, because I thought Tatooine Rhapsody was very original. Okay, what I think they need to do is to explore things about the galaxy that people wouldn't know about. The underworld, Narshada, they did it in the EU. Other parts of the rebellion, which Cassian Andor and Rogue One are exploring, that part of the rebellion that is not part of Leia's circle. Okay, because we know about that. Settlements, colonies, exploring parts of the galaxy that are unknown. Those are the things that should be on the plate, okay? This is a huge, very fertile ground to run amok in without messing with Han, Leia, and Luke, okay? Now, yesterday, one of my new subscribers asked me, what would I do if I had been the one to write the Han Solo origin story? Now, for if you're interested, I do write fan fiction, and I got to finish a story I'm working on. I haven't touched it because I've got some other ideas I want to think about. But I did do a Han Solo origin story. Okay, it's called One Night That Night on Narshada, or One Night on Narshada. And if you go to the community page here, you'll see it. Okay, you'll see it. I wouldn't explore his time on Corellia and Cornet City unless it's him telling the story or in a flashback, because you want to. What can you write? What can you talk about there? All right. I used part of the EU story that worked, his origin story written by A.C. Crispin, and I ran with it. His time as basically an indentured servant to Garrus Shrike, how he saved Chewbacca, okay, and his time with the Imperial Navy. Because there are things, anything else in between there, even the relationship he had with Bria Theron, aren't as important as the three things that I set out to do. Okay, when we get into the Bria Theron thing, that almost should be its own separate story. Okay, what brings him to this place called the Wayfarer? It's a dive bar on Narshada. It's run by this Corellian woman. She's a bit older than he is. She's married to the top smuggler on Narshada, and she's just there, and he shows up 3 nights in a row with Chewie in tow. And she's like, what the hell? What's with this guy? What's with this kid? And she befriends him, and that's the story. That's it. That's all. What you get, she'll ask questions, and you'll get him thinking about what led him there. Question. He's being, when you first see him, he's sitting at the bar, and this Twi'lek prostitute comes up, and the woman is not allowed in the cantina, and the bar manager owner kicks her out, and then they have a banter back and forth, and see him remembering a time when he was training to be a fighter pilot, and he got caught after curfew with a very high class call girl, and he's trying to sneak back onto base. Okay, and he's trying to explain himself to his commanding officer, which I used. Being a military wife and being someone that has actually studied military and talked to guys that have either been in training or trained others, young men, I used a lot of that knowledge about that stuff. When you're asleep, it's 3 a.m. and you get a call from the executive officer saying, Lieutenant Snuckle got into a fight in downtown Honolulu. We need to send someone to go get him. All right. Well, Lieutenant Snuckle just earned himself A, getting bailed out of jail. B, he earned office hours the next morning, a Saturday morning, with the battalion commander, which ain't fun. Okay. That's what I wanted to explain. Militaries, be they the U.S. military or, we'll say the Wehrmacht or the Russian Army or Navy or the British Army, British Navy, RAF, a lot of stuff happens. Young men get themselves into trouble, do stupid shit, and win stupid prizes. Okay, happens. And Han is presented as someone who doesn't necessarily follow all the rules because he didn't grow up the same way everybody else did. Okay. He's a strictly by the bootstraps kid. So they're dealing with someone not like them. Okay. These seasoned military, straight laced, by the books guys. Okay. So the next instance, she asks him, well, what do you do? He says, I'm a pilot. And she's looking at him, she's grilling, so he's wearing blood stripes. And she kind of takes it all in, and she asks him some more questions. And she asks, what'd you fly? And he said, TIE fighters. And she goes, and he goes, I was the best. Then you get into this very Top Gunish kind of thing. You get into a training mode, and his commanding officer is firm as Piet, okay? Because I really wanted to put a little bit of that Star Wars, everything is connected. All right. So they're being told they're working with the executor. All right. Vader's task force. They're training with with that Black, whatever, Death Squadron or Black Squadron or whatever he called it. And so they're up there. Han gets into a dogfight with somebody, he wins, and he discovers it's. So he has to go and meet him. And that is what I wanted to do with that is show you what happens when you get too much attention from the guys way up there. Okay, because I've got Han sitting there on Vader's shuttle, and he's going across to the executor, and he's with one of Vader's staff officers, and the guy's just staring at him going, who the hell is this kid? The fuck is he? And Han's remembering something one of his old commanding officers when he was training said to him, do well enough to get promoted, don't do so good you get attention from the top brass. There you go. So he has a run-in and an encounter with the Dark Lord himself. Okay. And what I did with this, and I think a lot of people would be upset that I would ever do that. Oh my God, Vader did get defeated by Solo. Did you see A New Hope? And by the way, Solo was flying a fucking freighter. Okay. I wanted to bring a tad bit of Anakin out. Rest assured, if you're in a situation like that, that man who wants to talk to you already knows everything about you. Okay? He knows where you came from. He's got your service record in front of him. Okay? Vader knows this guy was an orphan. He came from absolutely nowhere, pulled himself up by his own bootstraps, and he acknowledges that. Okay. When you run in, here's the deal. When John Milius wrote The Wind and the Lion, he has Teddy Roosevelt say to his daughter, Alice, great men wander the world, basically I'm going to paraphrase, wander the world by themselves, and their paths are only lit up by other great men. Okay. This is kind of an encounter like that. Okay. This is an encounter between two people when you think about it, because who really is Darth Vader? It's Anakin Skywalker, who are very much alike in the way they grew up. Orphaned, basically, enslaved, indentured servant, la la la. Okay. And there would be sort of a connection there. And I can see that happening. Because when you look at anybody that has ever been a bad person in history as a leader, whether they be, I'm not going to say it, but a previous president we had, to a guy that ran Germany in the 30s, to a guy that ran Italy in the 20s, to Joseph Stalin, Mao. Ultimately, they're human beings, okay? They're not, arch villains all the fucking time. Even Palpatine wasn't an arch villain all the fucking time, okay? That is what they call the banality of evil. Okay? You can have a normal conversation with somebody like Reinhard Heydrich. It doesn't mean that the guy's normal, but you still could have that conversation. So that's what I wanted to highlight. That even though Vader is in this suit and he's intimidating as hell, and because he does personify the dark side of the Force, his personality basically overwhelms any space he's in. But there's enough of, you know, hey kid, how'd you do that? Anakin still in him. Okay, I captured that, and there are people that liked it. There you go. So then we get into, they talk a little more. Her husband shows up. He's wondering who the hell the kid is. There's a sabacc match that goes on day and night, no matter what, going on in the back. The credit pouch is light. Solo goes to Chew. Let's see if I can win some more money so we can upgrade our accommodations. And the woman had taken on a really expensive old bottle of Corellian bourbon, and she gave him another glass of it, and he walks back with Chewie. And her husband is like, who is he? And she's like, I didn't ask him his name. And she said he's a pilot and he's looking for work. And he's like, oh God. So he gets up, he goes in the back to watch the game because now he's interested. And all hell breaks loose. You got a Deveronian, you've got, I think, I can't remember, a Twi'lek, and 3 like douchebag freighter bums. And they all think Han's been cheating because he's winning hand after hand after hand, including the sabacc pot. Okay. And all hell breaks loose and ends up, Han kills a Deveronian, and Chewbacca throws one of the freighter bums through the curtain separating the front of the bar from the back out into the front of the bar, and the guy's buddies take off running, and the Twi'lek takes off running. Okay. Now, Han thinks he's in trouble, but what happens is the woman's husband realizes, A, the kid earned those blood stripes. B, I think I might want to find out more about him and maybe I can use him. And that's where it ended. Okay. I let the past tell the story of how he got there. When he shows up, he doesn't have hardly any money. They're basically, desperately trying to find work, etc., etc. And this is kind of how things happen. Will of the Force or whatever, but that's how I would handle a Han Solo origin story. And what I would do with it from there is I'd probably not make it into a movie. It would probably be on streaming. Okay. But I would start it up as him as a young novice smuggler, too cool to rule, being taught the ropes by this guy and being basically taken care of, as she takes care of all of her husband's employees by the woman who runs the bar. It's very much Kitty, Miss Kitty from Gunsmoke or whatever, and Clara Allen from Lonesome Dove, because it's a Western. Okay. No Pandolando, no woke shit. When I'm working on another thing where I've got Han and Luke looking for somebody. They end up back on Narshada. They run into his friends. They give him some information, and then his old boss says, blah, blah, blah's at the Moonglow. I know he owes you money. Why don't you go look him up? So that instead of going back to the Falcon and leaving, they go to the Moonglow because Han is pissed. The Moonglow is an exotic dance club. Okay. Now, back in the old West, they had that stuff going on. They had, what Harry Carey Jr. would say in Tombstone, hostesses. Okay. They had burlesque shows. Okay. There you go. So I got that going on. And these are parts of Star Wars that have never been touched. Okay. And there are a lot of people out there who never wanted a Han Solo origin story. I said, as long as you get the right actor and it's good. Okay. They did not get the right actor and it was awful. There you go. Okay. And I can't understand why they would do what they did, but they did. Okay. And, you know, you have a chance to do something really amazing and you create Solo. I mean, and Ryan Howard, bless him, but I'm telling you, man, if I'd have walked in on that production, I'd have said, we're starting over from scratch. This gets fired, we need a different story because this sucks. Okay. And the fans will hate it. And apparently, a $250 million loss, they did. Okay, that's what I would do. But there's a wealth of places you could go into Star Wars without constantly revisiting Master and Apprentice, Master and Padawan, that stuff. It's not that I'm bored with it, but it has its place. Okay? And a lot of people are so stuck in that spot that they don't realize that you have this huge universe of stories. So why don't we explore that and make it bigger? Okay? Make it bigger. What else? I think that's the only question I was asked yesterday, but that was, I think, from one of the new subscribers. And now let's talk about some relevant things. So yesterday, Cameron, and I didn't get to hear the whole conversation until I got home. They were talking about Marvel. This week, Bob Chapek was at a conference, and I'm going to say it was a Goldman Sachs conference. And he basically talked about their talent comes first, la la la, and talked about how contracts going forward, I think, needed to fit the streaming mode, etc., etc., etc. That, which is basically Scarlett, shut up. Okay. Ari Emanuel, who runs Endeavor Agency, William Morris, Endeavor William Morris, comes in, and almost the first thing out of his mouth, this is literally after Chapek walks off the days, Rahm Emanuel's little brother, Ari, shows up and says, I love what Disney's doing. I applaud them. Ari Emanuel, and I totally, when I saw who came in after Chapek, I was like, there you go. Cameron was right. Basically, when I saw that, it was a signal to CAA, which is Brian Lord, etc., that Disney is no longer going to be using your people. Okay, that's a big deal. That was a big signal to CAA and Brian Lord and Kevin Feige. Now, today I opened up my email at 7:30 and saw deadline, Shang-Chi, the biggest selling movie since the COVID hit. Lala, bullshit. Bullshit. Okay. These are hyperbolic headlines because Deadline and Variety are with the club. The club is terrified of Bob Chapek. And they're more than terrified of the soon-to-be new head of Warner Brothers, Zaslav from Discovery, because they are going to change the way everything occurs now in Hollywood. Okay? This is a big goddamn deal, you guys. Okay? And I'm going to tell people, all right, I'm sad that they covered up Jessica Rabbit. I'm sad that they haven't apologized for trying to change Splash Mountain. Let me explain something. Politics is war by other means. Okay? I'm taking a flip on Clausewitz. Karl von Clausewitz, who wrote a series of essays, he was a Prussian field marshal who fought in the Napoleonic Wars. And he wrote a series of essays called On War, or auf Deutsch, Vom Krieg. I read them in German. He talked about war is politics by other means. Politics is war by other means, and business is no different. These little skirmishes over Splash Mountain, over Jessica Rabbit, over SJW training shit, that'll take care of itself. That when there's a chance to get to it, they'll get to it. Right now, the big battle, there's already been one big battle won, and Kennedy has been put in her place. All right. Now the big battle, which is an even bigger one, is Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige, to me, is losing on all fronts right now. And the biggest thing that's hurting him the most, hey Vader Fanatic, is he doesn't have the shareholders on his side at all. Okay? He doesn't have the shareholders on his side at all. Okay? He and probably Brian Lord put Scarlett Johansson up, got her to sue Disney for breach of contract, when really when you got a contract that was written without any idea COVID was coming, Disney is like, hey, we were going to give you money from the streaming. It's an arbitration. It's out of the way. Now, they can sit there and say Shang-Chi is a big blockbuster, but it's not. Okay? It's not. The Eternals is going to crash and burn. Okay? Okay, and I'm going to tell you something. We're getting to a point in Hollywood where guys like Chapek are starting to be the last word, thank God. And you are only as good as your last movie, which is the way it should fucking be. Okay? That is the way Spielberg came into prominence. That is the way Lucas came into prominence. Okay? That is the way Coppola, Scorsese, Zemeckis, De Palma, all these huge directors came into prominence. All of these big producers. Okay? All right? That is the way it has to be. All right? Dog eat dog world. Big deal. What have you done for me lately? And the guys that run the big hedge funds, BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, Goldman Sachs, Chase, JP Morgan Chase, etc. They have every right to be pissed off. George Lucas is a huge shareholder in Disney. He has every right to be pissed off. Okay? All right? They want results. They want to see their investments bloom into more money. Okay? Sorry to tell you. Sorry to break it to you. But the world revolves around the dollar. Okay? Now, with China and their looming financial crisis and the fact that the biggest company, I can't remember what it's called, it's worth like $60 trillion, is going tits up, as they say in the Marine Corps. This is going to not hurt us and hurt us because it's going to be a ripple effect. Okay, but this great reset people are talking about ain't going to happen without the Chinese. All right, there's a reason why the Chinese are so belligerent. They're in deep financial doo-doo because guess what? You can't be a commie and be a capitalist. They've been trying to, and now they look like fascists. All right, the 100-acre wood, etc., etc. So we got that going on. And that's a factor that plays here too. Okay. The Eternals won't play in China. Shang-Chi won't play in China. You know, and even if they did, Disney would see very, very small sums coming back because the Chinese basically take everything but 25%, which is bullshit. That really is bullshit. But like a good friend of mine, Lee Scott, says, the moment they started looking at China as the next big box office thing was the moment they started getting screwed over. Okay. The Chinese don't even want to give you 25%. They don't think the filmmakers deserve that. All right. Just the thing. So that's what I want to talk a little bit about. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting going forward. I'm going to give you, if you haven't followed Valiant Renegade, do that. When Cameron Pasha's on Midnight's Edge, listen to every word he says about this stuff. And about what's going on with Kathleen Kennedy. I've seen they're doing night shoots in London right now. And they're probably actually getting ready to pick up and go to Sicily to film Indy 5 in Sicily now because there have been advertisements, we need Sicilian actors, la la la. So there you go. But about Kathleen Kennedy, there is a timeline of sorts, and I know a lot of you came over from Doomcock. Go back to a video from last year, and it's about what she did with The Rise of Skywalker, what a failure it is, and how she screwed George Lucas over. I was told in 2018, because that's when they started filming The Rise of Skywalker, that George Lucas was writing and filming scenes for it. Now, you can go to any of the bigger channels on the side of the fandom I refuse to acknowledge, and they'll say, that's bullshit, George would never go back, blah, blah, blah. Translation, we don't know anything about George Lucas, but we're telling you what we would do, okay? Because that doesn't have anything to do with George Lucas. That has everything to do with their feelings. And their fifis don't matter right now. Talking about reality. Lucas did all this. They show an assembly reel to the suits, and Kennedy shits her pants. Where's Raylo? Where's all the other shit she wants? She basically orders what they said was 40% reshoots, which is why they were filming all the way up into November before they release the film. It's probably more like 60% reshoots. All estimated, and I was wrong on this, $600 million to make The Rise of Skywalker. Now think of half of that to market it. $900 million. And if you think that movie made any money, go sit in the corner and pick your nose. Okay, because you're stupid. George Lucas doesn't show up to the Rise of Skywalker premiere. Why? I wonder. 2 months later, Steven Spielberg walks out of the Indy 5 film. All right, development. Then we get Leslie Headroom getting a development deal from Kennedy, unbeknownst to the Bobs. That was after Chapek was told, guess what? The shareholders want you to be CEO. Okay, cool. Hi, Kojak. Come here. For you newbies, here's Kojak. Come here, Kojak. Come here, buddy. Come here. Kojak. Come. He's so funny. He came walking up, put his face up in mine, and then was like, fuck you. Anyway, walked away. So you've got that going on, and they were not happy with that. And you can tell by the way the press release came out with Taika Waititi's movie, There's Something Else, and then at the very end, Leslie Headland. Okay, we got that. And then, Gina Carano, throughout the summer 2020, starts, posting the things that she wants to post on Twitter. And of course, woke Twitter and their 50 billion bajillion bots start going crazy, fire Gina Carano trends. We discover, aftermath, that fire Gina Carano trend was started within Lucasfilm itself. So, Mandalorian Season 2 comes out with a bang. And the end was, like the most awesome thing in Star Wars in decades. The return of normal Luke Skywalker. And it changes canon drastically. That whole season changed everything, including the timeline. Okay? We get Luke coming in at the end, saving everybody, and taking Grogu as his first Padawan apprentice. Everybody shits their pants. There are people crying. You even have Steele Saunders crying crocodile tears. Then, Pablo Hidalgo, whom, if you don't know who he is, he was basically the guy that guarded canon, basically the human encyclopedia in the story group. He's also one of the most, probably the worst bully of the fans at Lucasfilm, bar none. Okay. Everybody in the fandom, from me to Ethan Van Sciver to Jeremy Griggs to everybody, have had run-ins with that troll. Okay. Someone posted publicly to Star Wars Theory Pablo's reaction to Star Wars Theory's teary-eyed reaction to Luke's return. Now, if you know why Theory felt that way, you'd be like, I get it. Okay? I get it. Pablo tweets, feelings shouldn't be shared. Emotions aren't for sharing. Whoever was within the private group sends it to Theory publicly. Pablo, like a dipshit, puts it on his cover so everybody can see it. And then suddenly he has to apologize. Theory's like, fuck off to him. Okay. Then Gina is told, I think it was on a late Thursday night, that she was no longer wanted at Lucasfilm. She wasn't fired because she wasn't under contract. Okay. All hell breaks loose. We get Kennedy being ratioed on the Academy Awards. I have never laughed so hard in my whole life. 10,000 dislikes to 100 likes. Over 5,000 fuck you. I know, Borg. Over 5,000 fuck you comments on that video. Okay? All right. And then the Forbes article saying Disney Lucasfilm and Disney mismanaged Gina Carano. Then we get the Variety article saying Bob Iger's being mean to us, or Bob Chapek's being mean to us, which is probably planted by Bob Chapek. Then we get another article, and then we get the Atlantic article basically saying Jon Favreau is now running the Star Wars franchise. Then we get an article from Inc., which deals with small business, and we get Business Insider basically saying that Chapek is making changes. And the Business Insider was like, boo-hoo, poor Kevin Feige, poor creatives. They're not creatives. Studio heads aren't creatives. When the Russo brothers basically came out this week or last week saying that Marvel was a hot mess, they're the creatives. Robert Rodriguez is a creative. Okay? Jon Favreau is because he's also a director and a writer. Okay? A studio head like Kathleen Kennedy is a studio head. Okay? She's never been a creative in her entire fucking life. All right? Now we've got other things going on. But I want to say this. There are two different, and this is for all the new subscribers. There are two different ideas of thought. That she is not getting her contract renewed, or that it will be renewed for, like 2 years. First off, that goes against what Chapek wants to do, so I don't think it's going to be multi-year. There's a third option here that either or haven't really talked about except for Andre Minute's Edge. And what it is she gets an extension to finish Indy 5. She gets her money, her retirement, her accolades. She gets a float down Main Street, USA at Disneyland, and then gets the fuck out. Okay? When I look at what's going on right now, I don't see her anywhere in Star Wars. Okay? I don't really see her when I'm looking at the images from Indy 5 and what James Mangold has been saying. I don't get any feeling from her in that either. Okay? And I'll go into that a little deeper in another time. But the timeline that I gave you is pretty much what I think is the path that's been taken. Will she get her contract renewed? Maybe, but only to finish Indy 5, and that's it. Okay? And they will tell us. I don't have any doubt that Bob Chapek wants to smooth the ruffled feathers of the fandom. Because, when I walk in to Ollie's, good stuff cheap, and if you're an American, there's an Ollie's nearby somewhere. If you walk into one of those stores and you see, you're walking among the shelves, and you see a section that's 3 feet wide and 4 feet high, filled with 3.5 inch, 3 3/4 inch Hasbro Rays from The Last Jedi, the sequel trilogy is a failure. When you walk into that store and you see book after book from the sequel trilogy sitting there for $3 or $4 a piece. The Han Solo book that was that thick that came out when Solo came out, that was $50. I would have bought it if the movie would have been decent. Han Solo is my favorite character. And a very abused character in the fandom too, by the way. I don't really like it. Here's the deal. I'm a huge fan of Harrison Ford. Clint Eastwood is 91 years old. He can get on a horse, punch people, and all the fanboys are like, yeah, Clint. Tom Cruise, who's 60, with his face pulled tighter than, Dolly Parton's, sucking on human growth hormone does all these fantastic stunts. Yeah, Tom Cruise. Harrison Ford, who just got done biking 1,000 miles in Mexico, is a doddering old man. Bite me! Okay? The disrespect for that character and that actor is beyond my comprehension. I don't get it. Okay? I just don't. I never will. You know? And it's disappointing. It's really disappointing. Anyway, I forgot my point, but when you go there and you see Marvel comic books stacked on a shelf that high, they were selling for $17 a piece. Now, $3, $2.99. You have a problem. And these aren't ST comic books. These are OT comic books. But what they contain is such a horrible, disgusting representation of what everybody who loves Star Wars loved. No one's going to buy it. Here's an example. They had the Han Solo book. I looked at it. Didn't see anything of Han Solo in it. Not even a little bit. The excuses will from the story group, from Pablo, from the writers, are plethora. But I fail to see what good is it to show Leia throwing a punch and knocking Han Solo on his ass when Leia's this big. Carrie Fisher weighed 80 pounds soaking wet. Okay. Secondly, it is a misrepresentation of the character because she would never do anything like that. She never had to. Let me repeat, she never had to. It's a blatant disrespect for the character, for his character, because they turned him into a shitty human being, and which he wasn't, and they turn her into a raving psycho bitch. Okay? White trash. Leia never had to do anything like that. All she had to do is say something that was clipped, sarcastic, pointed, and then the stare, the look. And that's it. The bullshit ended then. Because she was on that pedestal Han had put her on. Okay? We all remember what Harrison Ford said when he saw Carrie in the Slave Leia outfit. She's supposed to be a princess. What the hell is she wearing that for? Hey Maze, I'm about ready to click off actually because I gotta take a shower. He was speaking as Han Solo. Okay? All right? He put her on a pedestal, that character put Leia on a pedestal. All right? And it is really fascinating to me that these people who are such feminazis and SJWs and woke effers don't understand that a woman being respected and leaving men in awe of her is a place where a woman wants to be. Leia is a lady. Okay? A lady doesn't throw punches. She doesn't have to. So I'm looking at the book, $2.99. I'm not gonna buy that shit. I looked at the Han Solo book, the big one, brown cover, Alden Ehrenreich's disgusting silhouette. I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm not buying that either. You get this shit out of there and I buy it. But I looked through it, you couldn't escape that piece of shit human being. Yes, I called him that. You wanna know why? There's no reason for him to be in that movie. No reason at all. None. They had a perfectly good candidate they were negotiating with when Spielberg walked into Kennedy's office and threw down for Ehrenreich because because Ehrenreich was Destry Spielberg's little buddy, and Ehrenreich was also Spielberg's accountant's son. Okay? That's how that short, big-headed weirdo got the role. You know, and Kennedy, because Spielberg is her champion, or was her champion, and I'm going to leave you with that, said, okay, fine. This is what I think. Kathleen Kennedy does not have Steven Spielberg's confidence anymore after what she did to George. The Marcia Spielberg, Howard Kazanjian statements about the sequel trilogy, they were not done to help Chapek. They were part of a series of interviews that J.W. Rinslord, God bless his soul, put together for his book about Howard Kazanjian. Okay? They just coincidentally came out right now. Okay? But that being said, it sure as hell helps solidify in Chapek's mind and in Hollywood's mind that Kennedy had no fucking business doing what she did. And I agree with everything Marcia Lucas said. Okay? I agree with everything Howard Kazanjian said, even though he was nicer about it. Okay? And the reason is this. They didn't know what they were doing, and to paraphrase Marcia Lucas, they didn't get Star Wars. So, guys, it's been fun. I've been on for 62 minutes, and I got to get ready for church. So, I will see you guys around the galaxy. Behave, be well, and I'll probably be in Loki's chat tonight at 8 o'clock with, watching him in Mexican Iron Man. See you around the galaxy.